Hi, Maddie. Um, it's Thursday, April 20th, 4:52 a.m. I just woke up from a scary but pretty interesting dream, so I thought I would record it. Um, it starts out, it's at night, and I'm on a bus, and I'm looking for, like, a place to spend the night, I guess, like a hotel, and I don't know exactly what's going on, but I get off the bus and start walking in the direction that I think that I'm supposed to, and walking in the same general direction as me is these three men. I don't think they seem like they're in a group. They seem they're all kind of like doing their own thing, but it makes me a little bit nervous right away because, one woman walking alone at night and all these men. I start walking up a little path that to me looks like it's going to go through. It's going to just like one of those weird little paths like there are a lot of in Seattle where it's going to lead kind of like through in between houses, but just isn't actually like a road exactly, but it just you need it because it's like a little hill. So I start walking up one of those thinking it's going to lead through and like go to somewhere where I'm going to find a place to stay for the night. And as I'm walking up it, I slowly start to realize that, like, all three of the dudes are walking a little bit closer and a little bit closer behind me. And that starts to make me a little more nervous. And then as I kind of get to the top of it, I realize that it's not a through path through houses. It's actually leading into the backyard of a house. And so I get there and I look and I'm like, okay, there's a huge fence and there's no way that I can get through actually. And there's all of these guys like walking behind me. So I start to get really nervous. And I'm like, okay, what am I doing? But I get through, and as soon as I'm like in the backyard area, like all of these guys kind of like reach the landing at the same time, and they're like, "Hey," and they just like say hi to me. And they say like, "Oh, do you want to like rent the room here? Is that why you're here?" And apparently, I've walked into a hotel, but it's not like a normal hotel. Like it's kind of like I guess it's like an Airbnb type of hotel. It's a big house that happens to like have an extra room to rent. And I guess they all live here. So I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess this works out. And I feel a little bit apprehensive about it, but for some reason I do it anyway. Maybe just because at that point it would be rude or weird if I didn't or something. But we all go into the house, and it's this really, it's a really weird house. It's like pretty big. It's 2 stories. It's like a cross between a house and a hotel, sort of. It's a really weird structure. The decor looks very 70s, and actually the clothing that all the men were wearing look kind of 70s too. Wait a minute, I think this takes place in the 70s. Yeah, I think this takes place in the 70s. That's really weird. I'm just thinking about it, and like my clothes are all like old-fashioned too. Weird. Or maybe even the late 60s. That's interesting. So yeah, the house hotel thing, it's the room for rent. I think there's only one like room for rent, and the rest is just like the only one room for rent currently, and the rest are occupied. But the room for rent is on the second floor, and then the bottom floor. I'm trying to think about how to describe it. The way that the house is designed is there parts of it that are like it has 2 stories, but there are parts of it where it's only 1 story. So you go, like, from the room that I stayed in on the second floor, there are parts where you can go out and you see a little balcony, and then looking down from the balcony, there's like actually a little open air like dining area where the people who are staying there like can eat together. And I remember like asking these guys once I get there, okay, like I have a kitchen and a bathroom and like a bedroom, and like this place is so small, like do you guys share the same kitchen with me? Do you share the bathroom? Like how does this work? Like, because I just want to know, like, to feel comfortable, like I know what's private and what's not. And they say, oh yeah, like we share the kitchen. I remember spending some time like trying to figure out exactly how that works, like where are the doors, like do they lock, etc. And then it gets a little bit fuzzy from here. I think I spend a very long time there because I think I'm supposed to spend a very long time there at this point, because at this point in the dream, like I start like developing a sort of romantic relationship with one of the guys, and it's the type of thing where it develops, like the feeling of it develops very slowly over a very long time. So I think that I'm actually staying at this place for like months or maybe even years. But there's something that keeps, it's strange. It is such a strange setup. So I have my own room with like this big old-fashioned bed with like a wooden bed frame that has a big storage area underneath the bed. And all of these three guys, for some reason, sleep together in the same room. Maybe even the same huge bed. Like they're in very close proximity, I remember. But one of the guys, I start to develop this very fond, like intimate, close friendship with, and kind of romantic as well. But I remember that it happens to me, but it feels kind of forced. And I think it might be, I almost like sort of feel like I'm not, I almost for the whole time I feel like I'm not quite staying there of my own free will. It's always sort of like pressured, like I have to, it's expected of me, so I'm kind of doing it to be nice or something. Yeah, it's weird. So anyway, over this long period of time of staying at this place, this thing keeps happening to me over and over again, which is that I'm scared sleeping in my room, and I keep thinking that there are like dead bodies inside of the storage drawer underneath the big wooden bed that I'm sleeping in. And I mention that like several times to this guy, and he always brushes it off. He's like, how could that be? Like, that's crazy. They're like, there's nothing in there. And I remember one night, I'm like feeling it really strongly, and I'm like, I'm really freaked out. I know there's something under here. So I open up the drawer, and I see all of these, not full bodies, but like body parts in there, like legs and arms and like most of a torso and like stuff like that. And I'm like, oh my god, like here they are. And I pull out like an arm, like with my hand, I just pull it out, and I'm like, okay, here's the proof. I'm gonna go right down there right now and wake him up and show him this. And so I go down and like quietly wake him up, and I say, hey, here's a human arm that was under my bed. What's up with that? And he takes it, and it's like this really, it's a really like well done dream thing where it totally like was real human body part, although it did look kind of weird and it wasn't dripping blood or anything when I took it out. But then when he takes it, it becomes very apparent that it's like a piece of a mannequin. Even a piece of a mannequin that's like even been painted. So it's like something for some kind of art project, and he takes it and he's like, this isn't real, look at this. Like, this is like painted, this is like for, and anyway, I don't think he even explains like what it was for, but I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, like, okay, you're right. And then, okay, here's something weird. Then I think I go like and sleep in his bed, and I think we're like cuddling or making out or something, and in the process of doing that, like this is something I think we've been doing for a while, and that's like part of our relationship, but it's not just a normal making out situation. It's like while we do it, something that's going on, and probably the main reason that we're doing it is that he is like he's giving me lessons in how to penetrate other dimensions while this is happening, and how to like how to perform actions in our current dimension without being like really seen or noticed, because I'm actually doing it from another dimension. That's kind of like what he's giving me lessons in, and just helping me to like explore. And I remember that, like, I guess it's actually it's weird. So it's kind of cuddling, and it's also kind of sleeping, because we kind of let go to sleep. But I remember he kind of, like drifts off like right after us having this discussion, and I remember seeing him being like jerky, like violently jerky, and then like punching the air and like stuff like that, and thinking like, oh, like I seems like I really upset him. And another thing I should mention, actually, I should have said this a long time ago. In this dream, I don't look like me. I'm like a probably more stereotypical like white woman who would be in a classic American story. I don't know, that's weird. But I'm like a taller, sort of more like almost like idealized like body type. And I have like curly blonde hair, and I have this actually my dress looks almost like 50s style, and it's red. And I'm not sure exactly how I get from point A to point B now, but bear with me because that happens a lot in my dreams. So at some point after all of this has happened, I think I like get scared, or I just get tired of being there, and I'm like, I need to like get out of here, and I want to go visit my mom and my sister. Actually, something else that's been going on in the dream, I just remembered. Something else that's been going on is that I've been, this whole time, I've been like writing while I've been in the room, and I've been like thinking about stories and stuff, and I've remember like feeling for a very long time that like I'm a failure, or something's really wrong about my life, because I'm supposed to be a writer. Like I'm supposed to be like a really good, respected, successful writer. And I think that the guy who's giving me the lessons is like actually a successful writer in the dream, and maybe that's actually why I have the relationship with him as well, and why I'm staying there, because I'm like intrigued by that or impressed by that or something. But anyway, it might actually be that my mom and my sister are like in a different dimension, or they're somehow like separated from me, so that I can't quite visit with them in my dimension. Because I remember what happened is that after like having all of these lessons, I go ahead and like hop dimensions, and I go to a place where I'm gonna visit, like, my mom and my sister. And also what happens when I go to that dimension, which I think is like, like in my head, I think it was supposed to be like the dimension hopping was also sort of a way for you to realize like your truer self, because sometimes you can, like, there's this way that like the spirit gets lost in the wrong dimension, and that's like why things feel so wrong, is that things were supposed to be a different way. I don't know if that makes any sense at all. But anyway, I hop into a different dimension, and my mom is there, and my sister is there, and in this dimension, I'm absolutely like a famous successful writer, and I remember being with my mom and my sister, and when I say sister, I mean like grown woman, like sister. My mom's like kind of old, and we're sitting in this environment that's really beautiful. It's like an underground. It's like an underground cavern that has a big open space in the top, so that like these really pretty like light beams are like shining down through it, and then like the bottom of it is a little lake, and we're like sitting like on the lake edge, and we're sitting on these like, there's a bunch of huge boulders everywhere as well, and we're sitting on huge boulders and kind of talking and catching up. Now I can't remember what possesses me to do this, and I wish that I did. We were having a conversation, and they hadn't seen me for a while, so I was trying to explain something about me, or something about my life, and I think what I was trying to explain to them was how, like, I could dimension hop or something, and I think my sister was blind. But anyway, I do this really terrifying thing for some reason, where so what it, for context, like what it looks like when you dimension hop, like, is basically you kind of look like you're sleeping, you're not really moving, but in reality you're like just going into the other dimension real quick. And then so I did that, and basically I only did it for like really quick amount of time, like 5 seconds. But I wanted to show them like this cool trick that I could do. So what I did was I hopped into the other dimension, and then I very quickly snatched out my sister's eyes. And so, you know, she just started screaming and crying, and my mom was screaming. And they were like, what the fuck? But one thing also that's really interesting about the dimension hopping is like when you. So I did it. I performed one of these things that I was trying to learn how to do, where like it was all stealthy, like no one actually saw, like the way that it looked from the outside is that it looked like her eyes just disappeared into thin air. Because when you do the dimension hopping, like you can perform an action and you can't see it happening. Like you can't see the person performing it. In real life, you can only see the effect of it. So basically, it looks like her eyes just disappeared and there were bloody sockets there instead. Although the one thing that actually did happen is that another thing that happens when you dimension hop is that any like sort of action that you perform leaves a scar. So she was left with these bloody like sockets, and then like this really intense scarring like right here for some reason, which doesn't make any sense. But that's how it was in the dream. Yeah, I think that might be where it ended. And then immediately after that dream, I had that very creepy type of scary dream where you wake up and you're like, oh, it was just a dream, and then you're like still dreaming. So my second dream that I had, very short, I woke up and it was supposed to be kind of the middle of the night, maybe really early in the morning. And the reason I woke up is that my dad, oh, this is super weird. For context, I recently bought myself an ice cream making machine. And I haven't really used it, but that's like what this was supposed to be in my head. So my dad like comes into my bedroom and he's like making a ton of racket, and it's because he's like cranking this like ice cream machine for fun. And then like I'm like, oh god, like he's drunk or something. I realize that's what's going on, like he's really drunk or you know high or something, like so he's just thinks this is a great idea to like wake everyone up with this racket in the morning. And then I notice he's like super wobbly and I'm like, okay, this is pretty bad. And then like it kind of from there it kind of like does that thing where it's like two people at the same time because it's like or it's oscillating between them. So it's like my dad, but it's also my little brother. So he comes in and then like somehow my oldest sister is there as well. And it's sort of becoming my little brother. And then like but he still has very much the same attitude and the same thing is going on where he's like all like super drunk and weirded out and like kind of scary because he doesn't seem very stable. And then we notice that he has like two pistols in his hands. And we're like, oh fuck, like we need to take care of this situation very carefully. And I remember, like, it was super weird because I remember seeing him, like, struggle with what he was doing as if he wasn't just drunk, but he was, like, being controlled by some kind of force, like, outside of him. Because he would have moments where he was flickering back into just being normal and he would say, like, oh, like, I don't want to be doing this, or, like, I want to stop or something. So that was really hard to watch, and basically there was like a little while where we were trying to struggle with him to like get him to put down the guns or give us the guns and stop. Yeah. And my sister who's there is trying to be more nice about it, and I'm trying to be more forceful about it. I'm like, just fucking like grab the guns, you know. And I try to at some point. And I get one of them away first, and then I finally get both of them away. And I don't know why I feel compelled to do this. Like, it might just be my thing that I do in dreams sometimes, where I totally, like, am more violent than I need to be in response to a threat. But, there's other stuff that he's doing, too. I don't remember exactly what. Like, maybe he has knives, he has other dangerous things, because we feel, like, very much like, okay, he's, like, being really dangerous right now. But anyway, I'm like, in the dream, I'm a pretty good shot and I know how to use the gun, and I'm like, you know, I'm just gonna like graze him, like on the shoulder and like on the foot or something, and then he won't die, but he'll have to stop, and then it'll be fine. So I do that, and then it does kind of incapacitate him, but not really, like he's still doing his thing, and then my sister does this like crazy thing. I know it's gonna sound really weird. Yeah, it's a dream, it's fine. So my sister does this thing where she starts, like, in order to incapacitate him, she starts folding up his body into itself. And in the dream, it's like, his body is... It's not a regular body. Like, suddenly it's like a... It's like the same color as his body. But the bottom part of... It's like, okay, imagine if you had a mermaid, but instead of being a person with a fish, it was a person with like a bag of frozen soup. So like in the dream, his lower half of his body is like a floppy, kind of semi-floppy, like clear bag of stuff. But so she starts like folding that up, and there's like blood coming off of him because I just like grazed him in like two places in his body, and she like starts folding him up, and she's like, okay, this is how we're gonna stop him. This is how we're gonna incapacitate him. Like, we just fold him up, and then he can't move. And that's when I woke up and was pretty terrified and decided to record this. Okay, thanks for listening.